Speaking of shadiness, I guess the flip side of the government doing good is there's always something bad to balance it out and keep it at the same equilibrium. And so I didn't think this was very good either. I'd be curious to see what you guys think on it. But there was a proposal that basically lets the IRS look into account statements and stuff like that for any bank account that's over $600. And the goal of it is to basically curtail, tax avoidance, things along those lines. It sounds good in theory where you say that, we'll investigate bank accounts and make sure. But it has some negative connotations because now that basically most bank accounts are going to have over $600 in it if it's your primary checking account that you're paying your rent and normal bills on, right? And so now they'll be able to snoop into every single one of those. And it's kind of unnecessary because to me, it's like, why would you make the limit $600? Like, why would you not make it like $100,000? So you're targeting the people that actually have a lot of money in their bank account. Targeting $600 is like, that's such a low barrier. And you're just like screwing over like the people who are probably getting paid in like tips or doing odd jobs or cash jobs and things like that. And like, it could be like a class thing too, but it just generally just didn't seem bad. And there's no reason the government should be digging into this thing. Basically, they want to be able to track the bank account inflows and outflows and correlate that with your W-2 statements and make sure that you don't have like some weird money from somewhere else coming into it. Yeah, in general. And I'm pretty sure if you get audited, if I'm not mistaken, the government can already look at these bank accounts. And so like if they choose to audit you, they can already dig into it and see all the transactions that are going on. But this is just like proactively, like pre-audit, we're going to look around and see everything that's going on and identify stuff. I mean, I feel like you hope that it could be used for good, maybe, but I feel like there's more bad than good, and I don't really trust government competence in this regard. So like, it probably won't do anything in the first place. But what do you guys think about having your accounts looked at?
Well, we just said government is taking one step forward and 10 steps back. That's how I see it. And unfortunately, we were talking about if the government itself is in the business of privacy abuse, should we expect to pass some laws on the privacy protection? And again, it goes to our previous point. Maybe Clearview is right in the sense that it's bedding in the country. So because they are, if the government itself is abusing privacy, well, what does that show when it comes to the companies that are operating in here? I think that's not a good sign, and this is going to be a very slippery slope.
Boy, yeah, I totally agree with everything that was said, and I know it's like it's a privacy haven on one end, but somehow it's like we just did a jujitsu move and said, well, maybe not. I mean, maybe it's just still a privacy grab for certain entities, and the consumers once again get kind of the negative on both of these things. If you think about it, it's not good when it's when we're known as a place to go to if you don't want to have to deal with privacy regulation. Mm-hmm. So that's not good for consumers. And then on this end, this is not good for consumers either. At least I don't think so. So it's like we're getting the worst of both worlds here. Is that what we just outlined? And that's not good. I was feeling pretty good. We were doing some good. You had some positivity.
Got to bring you back down to reality.
It's like I feel like the guy from the Godfather. Every time I try to get out, you guys bring me back in. So, I don't know. That was a bad. I don't like this. It's just that one's irritating.
Every time a government introduces something, and it's a lot of these cases, it's a slippery slope, and it doesn't end. That is just the first small hole being poked, and that is going to become a tunnel very soon. Even something like income tax. Remember, income tax used to be a temporary thing. During the Civil War, it was introduced to fund the war. I think during the Civil War.
You say remember like we were there. Like,
I'm like, wait a minute.
That was such an anecdote. Like, oh, remember back in the day.
Or at least something we learned in the past. But it started as 2 to 3% during the Civil War. But now, where is that 2 to 3% range? And everyone takes income tax for granted, right? So I guess we are heading down the path of everyone taking privacy abuse for granted. 100 years from now, I don't think it'll take 100 years, but the way things are going.
Hopefully.
But, it kind of, you first start with IRS wanting that data. Later, at some point in the very near future, it will be expanded to, let's say, your mortgage. Where your banks will want transaction information so that they can check your credibility to issue a mortgage to buy a house. And then see it expanding towards credit score. Maybe Experian and all these companies will want that information to be tracked into. So the size of the hole keeps expanding until it becomes a tunnel into your privacy.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for making me feel even worse there, right?
I mean, yeah, and then in general, just like how many government programs like this really end up like exceeding expectations? So like I think there's a number that like 400 billion is what they try to like get back in like tax avoidance and stuff from this thing. But like, have you ever heard of like a program that like really crushes it and is like, oh, this is great, like we gotta it exceeded expectations, right? So that means that's like your top line number, probably a lot lower. And then I've read a bunch of articles basically saying like you could do a lot more with other types of government traction. And like wealthy people don't have this problem, right? Like you're going to have your money in 7 different ways and pay like some accountant, $500,000 a year, 100 grand a year, whatever, to shuffle it around. Cayman Islands, yeah, like cheaper to buy a private plane and just fly back and forth and have your bank account there and pick up wads of cash than it is to deal with anything in the US. So like, I don't know, not very good.